Hi there, sacred sovereign souls. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. I am Lady Drasmeen. Welcome to the final week of the month, of our very first month, rolling out the Soul Sanctuary Circle. I would love to hear from you. How has this month been for you? How are you feeling about this online offering? What has worked for you? What has been challenging? I deeply appreciate and receive your feedback because it helps me create a container that is nourishing and supportive for as many beings as possible. Can't please everyone, right? And so, thank you for your presence. Thank you for your witness. Thank you for your participation. That's the biggest thing. Thank you for your continued commitment to yourself, to your evolution, to your highest excellence. Let's drop in with three cleansing breaths. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Two more. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Last one. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Beautiful. Opening circle today. Today is Wisdom Wednesday. And our teaching for today is befriending the ego. EGO. What is the ego? So, if you've been with me for a while, y'all know that I love wordplay. I love acronyms. I love breaking down language, quantum. My quantum work also includes a lot of language processing, language deconstruction, and reconstruction to be empowered and sovereign. And so I came up a few years ago with the EGO stands for everyone's good opinion. Everyone's good opinion, edging God, goddess, goodness out. And so let's talk a little bit about the EGO. Okay, what is the EGO? First of all, the ego is a collective energy, it does not belong to you. So please, the very first invitation for you today and forward for the rest of your days, the invitation for you to bring into the lives of your family and friends is to stop claiming the ego as yours. It is not a part of you. It is simply an energy, a wall, a perception that is created, that is designed to protect, organize, and shape identity. It is not an enemy. It's just a part of being in the human experience. And it is formed through experience, through survival needs, through perceived separation from source, through EGO, everyone's good opinion, societal programming, religious indoctrination, political dogma, well meaning intentions that aren't actually in service for you. And so the ego helps us stay humble. The ego helps us define our space and how much space we wish to occupy in our world. Okay. So, with that said, when unexamined, when the ego is just allowed to run the show, that is when the human becomes reactive, defensive, or performative, because now you have given power away to this perception rather than recognizing that it is simply a presence that may or may not be true to your sovereignty, that is there to support you. So is the ego a saboteur or an ally? Well, it really depends on your relationship with the ego. Okay, because the ego becomes an ally when it is brought into conscious relationship, when it is honored and not overridden. Okay, and the ego sabotages when you operate from fear, scarcity, and past programming. So the ego is could be considered a shadow element, right? I don't really see the ego as shadow. I see the ego as the the gatekeeper, shall we say, between the shadow and the light, because how we engage with the ego determines how much of our light or our shadow we are in, or ideally, we are in awareness of both and we are still above the ego. So we are here, okay? The ego is here, the light is here, the shadow is here, and you're grounded in your sovereign heart space. And so you are at the center, okay? You are at the center, honoring the fact that you're grounded, cosmic being grounded in earth, that there is the ego there that helps differentiate between the light and the shadow, and then your free will choice helps to harmonize these opinions or alchemize them so that you receive more of God, Goddess, goodness in your daily life. So let's talk a little bit about what are some signs, right, that the ego is in charge. So some signs that the ego is in charge and not your higher self, your sovereignty, is when you are in defensiveness, when you are in the space of needing to prove yourself or control a certain outcome. Again, this is rooted in just wanting attention and affection, which is perfectly normal, my beloved one. We are in the human experience, and the human experience includes and involves and necessitates human connection. And so, unfortunately, because of the way that someone might be raised, someone might have been raised to place worth and value, to receive love based on what someone does rather than who someone is. And so, again, EGO, everyone's good opinion, right? Born from programming, conditioning, dogma, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? It's there. It's collective energy. And so that's why it's so easy to identify to it. It's so easy to attach oneself to it, right? Now, another way that the EGO shows up as being in charge is when you're in perfectionism, when you're in people pleasing, when you're in imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is again connected to unworthiness, self-esteem, low self-esteem, not trusting in your divinity, in your humanity, in your gifts, in your individuality. Some other signs that the ego is in charge is in the ways that we compare ourselves to other people, the way we hold judgment based on what we perceive someone's life to be, and even the ways that we self abandon, right? Like we abandon ourselves to people please, we abandon ourselves for work and responsibility, we abandon ourselves because we are told that we have to present a certain way, right? Again, the ego shows up in charge when you are not honoring your soul truth, when you are not in your full body yes. And earlier this month, I believe it was week 2, I did a little workshop on sovereign yes, sacred no. And so I invite you to go check out that teaching if you haven't already, to tap into how to get back into that yes and that no. And I will just simply summarize here and say that the yes, the sovereign, sacred yes, feels like a breath. It is easy. It is effortless. You don't have to think about it. You're not questioning it. You just instinctively know that that's your yes. Now, if you're unsure, That means you might just need a little research. That means you need a little time. That means like your intuition is saying, danger, danger, don't go down that road because it's not in your best good, right? And that's when you take a moment to just reflect, reevaluate, and do some research. But usually, instinctively, we already have our answer when something approaches us and comes into our field of experience. There's this fabulous book by Malcolm Gladwell called Blink, which I highly recommend to anyone and everyone struggling with the scientific mind, the masculine mindset, the breaking into trusting intuition, trusting the unknown. I come from a very scientific background, and so this book was instrumental for me to start breaking away from the attachment to proof. And Malcolm Gladwell goes into the psychology and the science behind intuition. And he talks about how um, when we are engaged with a certain question or a certain experience, and we're asked to make, have a thought about it, if we're asked like a question about it, we instinctively know our answer. It happens in less than a blink, faster than a blink, in that 5% of the mind that's active. But then it goes through the 95% of the mind, questioning, doubting, to come back to that point of like, oh man, I knew it. Right? How many times have you had an experience where you come back to that original point, you go through the experience, and you're like, damn it, I should have known better. My beloved ones, get rid of that word should. Okay, that's another EGO word. The word should is a big EGO word. Okay, I should have known better. I should have done this. I should have. Yeah, perhaps. And yet, what happened was exactly what was needed for you to evolve as a consciousness. Because without that experience, you wouldn't have strengthened in your intuition. You wouldn't have rooted deeper in your discernment. You wouldn't have aligned with more of your authentic truth. And so the experiences that we have where we go against our intuitive knowing, only to return to that point of, okay, all right, I won't do this again. All of that is part of being in the human experience. And so befriending the ego is about having compassion for that dance that you do to come back to that inner knowing. Okay. So let's talk a little bit. Now we've talked a little bit about the signs of how the ego is in charge, which is basically like, if you're not in your yes, in however ways that turns up. So let's talk about how to befriend the ego. Okay. So this week, as I am recording this teaching transmission live today, we are shifting into Leo season, the fire energy. Okay, so what a perfect time to transform your identity. Okay, not only are we shifting into Leo season, we have a new moon in Leo tomorrow, and we just have Mercury going into retrograde in Leo. So, like, the call for an identity rebirth is inevitable at this time. And so you can quantum leap, you can accelerate your evolution at this time by allowing the fire of transformation to illuminate the fears beneath the ego patterns, to illuminate the unresolved trauma beneath the ego's actions, to illuminate the unprocessed emotions beneath the ego overriding your better knowing. Because once you integrate the ego, it becomes the container of your power. Once you integrate the ego, it is the vessel where you can take all the bullshit that everybody throws at you and just put it in there in your little furnace of your soul, and you can churn it, and then you can pull from it to create the life of your dreams. Because let's think about what Einstein said about the laws of physics. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. And so ego is energy going outward. Okay. Ego is energy going outward. It's everyone's good opinion coming in and then energy going outward. And everyone's good opinion is just their thought form. Their thought form is a frequency of energy, right? And how it affects you depends upon your free will and choice. Not even the cosmic beings will override your free will and choice, because that would be dishonoring the law of life in the earth plane experience. But we don't have to go into that because that's a conversation for another day. The point is that befriending your ego is the first step into the pathway of shadow alchemy. Because once you go into the shadowlands, it can be very easy for the ego to come in and say, hey, you don't need to look at that. Let's go over here and have a party, right? And then you go, wait a minute. No, actually, it is really important that I look at the shadow because that's where I have strength. That's where I call and reclaim more of my power. So, what are some exercises to do to befriend the ego? The very, the simplest, easiest, and challenging exercise is to stand in front of the mirror every day. Really stand in front of the mirror. Look into your own eyes and notice the thoughts that arise about yourself. Notice the judgments that are coming up. Notice the comparison that is coming up. You know that you have arrived at the point of befriending your ego when the only competition in your life is yourself, or rather, your past versions of you. You know that you have come into the point where the ego is now your BFF, your best friend for life, when the voices come up, the chatter comes up, the comparison comes up, the judgment comes up, and you look at it and say, I see you. I see you. I thank you for protecting me. I thank you for your opinion. Oh, you silly little one, sit down. It's okay. I got you. When you learn how to be light and playful with those denser emotions and thoughts that arise within you, when you are no longer drawn into or even attracting into your energy field drama and gossip and just like victim complaining, those kinds of energies and people. When that automatically starts to fall away from your life, that's when you know that you are befriending the ego. Now, once you befriend the ego, it does not mean that the work stops, okay? Because then we have different levels as we grow and evolve in our human experience, right? First, we have the ego of everyone else's good opinion that we empower, and we decide for ourselves which of these opinions are actually true and good for me and which are just like, okay, goodbye, dead skin slamming off. But then you have your own personal ego, right? Your own judgments that arise from within you based on, oh, I've done all this work, so I am better than thou. I'm holier than thou, right? Like pedestalizing self. And so this is where another key to befriending the ego comes in, and that is humility. It is the ability to honestly look at yourself in that mirror and say, are these truths also serving me, right? Not only are they my friends helping guide me, are they serving me, or are they now limiting my vision? Are they limiting my capacity to love? Are they creating friction in my life because I am perceiving that my opinion, my growth, my practice, my place in life is better, higher than XYZ? right? So these mirror exercises is a really good exercise to do every single day. It is an exercise that I do every single day for myself personally. I stand in front of the mirror, and it's okay to give yourself a little pat on the back and a little self-esteem boost, like, hey, good looking, what's up? I like your outfit today. You did good matching those earrings. I don't know about those socks, they got holes in them, try to throw them out. Like, it's good to boost ourselves, right? It's good to fan the flames of the ego a little bit, right? Like, it's like, I always like to think of the ego as like that Leo friend in your life who wants to be the center of attention and wants praise and acknowledgement all the time, and loves to start shit, and can throw a really good party when they're in the mood. Like, for me, the ego is very Leo vibes. Okay, like, walk into a room and you can feel the presence of the ego, right? Like, whether they're loud or soft, when the ego comes into the room. It's got a particular smell, it's got a particular attitude, right? And it's about how we engage it that determines our level of embodiment in the human experience. And so when you stand in front of a mirror, honor yourself. Say out loud, I see you. I see me. I honor me. Ego, I thank you for protecting me. I choose to walk with you and not be led by you. And then do some fire breath. Okay. Fire breath is like, and if you need to do some like deep soul fire breath, okay, so this is the short fire breath work. This is just to like bring that fire energy from our solar plexus, right? But to truly like feel the power and to clear that energy, you can do the fire. It's I don't know the word for it, so forgive me if I'm butchering this, but it's the you're like grounding that fire. First, you awaken the fire. 11 breaths, and then you ground it. And as you stick your tongue out and you just drip that fire into you, let that fire purify what is not in service to you. Let that fire burn away the illusion of separation, the illusion of better than, less than, the illusion of judgment, the illusion of comparison, right? Let it burn away. And then ground into your personal power, ground into your sovereignty, ground into your opinions that are in alignment with the law of life. And then soften into that breath. So let's do some fire breathing together, okay? All right, imagine that I am your mirror, okay? And we're gonna look at each other. And what do you see in the mirror that is you? What beauty do you see? What scars, what insecurities, what judgments, what celebrations? And just receive it. I see you. I see me. I honor you. I honor me. I choose alignment. I am aligned. I choose to walk with love, not be led by the ego. I lead from soul. I lead from my heart-centered truth. I am worthy of all the love that I am. And I do not have to do anything to prove myself worthy of love, respect, appreciation, goodness, miracles, magic, right? And breathe that in. Breathe that in and receive it. Receive yourself. Receive yourself fully. And do this mirror exercise every rising. And anytime during the day where you start noticing anxiety, the stress, the fear, the worry, oh shit, am I doing enough thought that comes up, when the to-do list is piling up and you start feeling like, I'm just a fucking failure. Like when that thought comes up, no, honey, you're not a failure. You're just in the human experience and you just might be needing a little break. Can you give yourself grace in that moment? Go find a mirror, find a reflective surface, and just take a moment and reconnect with, wow, you woke up today. You're showing up. And it might not be the best day, but you're still showing up and you're doing your best. And I'm so proud of you, right? Now, it is also important to recognize that we're all in this human experience together and we're all going through our dance with the ego, right? And so it is important and it is vital that we are in self responsibility to um, not bleed into other people's lives, into the lives of the people that we love by dismissing them, ignoring them, neglecting them, um, overriding their boundaries, right? In the name of self protection, in the name of self love, we have to learn how to communicate our needs for connection or distance, space. Okay. But that starts with learning how to have those conversations with yourself. And so, if you need some deeper journaling practices, right, here are um, three suggested prompts. The first one is, what the ego really wants is blank. So, for example, what the ego really wants is pizza. And what my soul knows is fruit will make my body feel better. Very rudimentary example, right? But it's how you start having those conversations, because if you can't have those difficult conversations with yourself, you're not going to be able to have those conversations with another person. So you got to start by having those conversations with yourself in front of a mirror, in your journal, to a tree. I love talking to trees. I love talking to the squirrels while they're eating their nuts, talking to your pets, talking to plants, right? What the ego really wants is blank. And what my soul knows is blank. The second journal inquiry is, the ego fears that if I don't blank, then blank. An example is, the ego fears that if I don't show up to my 9 to 5 job, then I'll become homeless. A little bit of a dramatic jump there, perhaps. Let's unpack that a little deeper, right? My ego fears that if I don't work, then I don't make money. Oh, my ego fears that if I don't make money, then I won't have a place to live. The ego fears that if I don't have a place to live, then I'm perceived as a failure in society's eyes, right? Now we start really unpacking the core of what's really triggering these reactions, right? Rather than responding to life. And then the third prompt is, the ego most often protects me by. And this particular prompt is really helpful for discovering the ways that we are disconnected from our power, where we're giving power away and we are not in awareness of the choices and decisions that we're making, or that the choices, that decisions that we're making from automated response rather than presence, right? If you say, that's just who I am, that's the ego. If you say, oh, that's just something I always say, that's the ego, right? So how is the ego protecting you? And is it really protecting you, or is it starting to hold you back? So I would love to hear from you. Okay, I would love to hear from you about what landed for you in today's teaching. The invitation is to be gentle with yourself and be humble with what is being revealed about yourself to you, right? We don't want to create more resistance within ourselves to ourselves. We want to create a space of safety, of openness. Okay. This is a conversation with energy, and this week is all about energy. Now, to even have that conversation with energy, we need to have a nervous system that is regulated and able to even engage in this inner dialogue. And last week, I shared with you some practices for nervous system regulation, and I invite you to go and check that out. So, um, so, I invite you to go and check that out. Okay. So, ultimately, befriending the ego means reparenting yourself, knowing how to engage your little child, knowing how to engage your teenager, knowing how to engage your adult, knowing how to hold space for all these three aspects of yourself, witnessing the needs, listening to the boundaries, inviting it to your support your soul rather than lead you, right? Because once your ego becomes an ally, let me tell you something. You come into a deeper layer of your self mastery. Then you can truly start diving deeper into your past lives, into your soul gifts, into service for others, because you are grounded in humility. You are rooted in grace. You are anchored in this inner knowing that of what your core values are, and you're not easily affected by disbelief and judgment and manipulation that might come your way. You learn how to recognize that faster and faster until it just doesn't show up in your world because you're just not operating at that frequency. So let's see. Is there anything else about the ego that needs to be shared today? No, I don't want to repeat myself. I would love to keep these wisdom teachings short and sweet. Today went a little bit longer. And this is a really important conversation to have, right? Especially as we're going into Leo season, okay? Like a little bit of energy comes in, like, look at me, look at me, look at me. And the ego, is the biggest shadow of the Leo energy, right? It's a great energy to be in, and it can also become trouble. So, how are you befriending your ego today? How are you transforming yourself through this Leo energy right now so you can shift away from separation into deeper union with your I am presence? Hmm. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being a part of Wisdom Wednesday's teachings. I hope to see you tomorrow in our Talk Thursday circle where we talk about today's teachings. And oh my gosh, my computer just froze. Please cooperate. Thank you. Yes, okay. Okay, yes. So join me tomorrow for Talk Thursday, and we will talk about this week's teachings. We'll talk about any personal breakthroughs. We'll hold space for accountability, check in on our goals and our personal or business goals, and see what we accomplished in the week past, and celebrate together. See where we didn't meet our goals, look at why, and refine our actionable plan to keep anchoring and amplifying our beautiful, so worthwhile dreams. And then Friday, we have our low energy integration reflection circle for intuitive development, sharing progress, asking for receiving support for continued alignment, and just being in sacred space together. So join me back here in the Soul Sanctuary Circle Thursday and Friday. Additionally, this week, Thursday, I mean, not Thursday, tonight, I have a women's temple that's happening online. Tomorrow, Thursday evening, is shamanic drumming and chanting live on Facebook. It is a new moon journey. You're going to want to join in on that because we are going through a deep shamanic journey to help us anchor in this new identity, this new timeline that's now here, ready for us to fully step into, crown on. And Friday, if you are in town here in Southern Oregon, I'm currently in Springfield, Oregon for a few more days. I'm hosting a clothing swap, a magical clothing swap. So if you're in town, come by. It's from 6 to 7:30. Details on my Facebook page, Jasmine Integrative Alchemy. And Saturday, woo, I'm so excited. I am hosting my book launch for my very first or my second book of poetry. 5 months finally after publishing this book, I'm finally having the book launch for Emotions. So I'm going to take us into a guided journey, talk about what inspired the book, read some poems, answer your questions, any questions that you have. It is an opportunity for you to order a signed copy. There's 3 ticket tier options available. So join me. These are most of these circles are live online, so you can tune in from the comfort of your home wherever you are in the world. And I do have signed copies of this book available that I will be shipping out next week. So join me on Saturday for my book launch. Spread the word. I'm so excited to finally have this book out for release in the world. Whee! And next week we don't have Soul Sanctuary Circle because it's an odd half week of the last week of the month, and because I'm moving next week. So stay tuned, and I hope to see you tomorrow. And until we meet again, take care of your beautiful selves. Nourish, hydrate, breathe. Look into yourself in the mirror and see the beauty that you are. Be gentle and loving with yourself. Be kind in your growth, in your unlearning and reparenting. And remember, you are loved, here to love and to be loved. Bye for now.